Telecoms operators recorded a 2.4% growth in the first quarter of 2020. However, that rate fell by 0.62% compared to what was recorded in Q4 of 2019. The stats showed that 2.4% was the combined growth for the four major operators: MTN, Globacom, Airtel, and EMTS, Emerging Markets Telecommunication Services, operating as Nine Mobile. MTN grew by 7% in Q1 as against 5.26 recorded in the last quarter of 2019. Globacom, they recorded 0.3% growth in Q1 2020 versus over 5% in the last quarter. Airtel grew by 2.2% in Q1 2020 as against 2.67 in Q4 2019. But EMTS, operating as Nine Mobile, their growth contracted 11.03% in this last quarter of 2019. It was 11.13 contraction in this first quarter of 2020. What do these numbers mean? We're going to be speaking with in a second, the president of ATCON, the Association of Telecoms Companies of Nigeria, Mr. Olusola Teniola. Should be having him any second now to discuss this matter as far as what these numbers mean. First of which, of course, is what these Q1 numbers mean. Is there a new normal with respect to the spike, if you call it that we've seen in the first quarter of this year with regards to telcos? As we know, a lot of people have been staying at home, right? They've been using more data, using more voice services. And the numbers show they've actually increased as far as new lines and internet connections. We got more data here. Let's see now. New lines, 1.46 million new lines, went from 190.8 million lines in April to 192.3. Okay, we do have him, Mr. Olusola Teniola, the president of ATCON. He is with us on here. Good afternoon to you, sir. Welcome to the Global Business Report.
Good afternoon.
Yes, excellent.
Good afternoon to you.
As far as the Q1 data for the telco operators, does this suggest, I was just speaking to our audience now, a new normal for us? What do you say to that?
The increase in subscriptions is welcome. However, it's on the back of the fact that there is evidence to suggest that there are a lot of other factors behind the numbers. One of the factors is that predominantly the Q1 represents what we predicted would be sort of a positive way into 2020. However, Q2 numbers is what is awaited for. What is the direct impact in the increased subscriptions in terms of the revenue numbers for the industry? If you look at the increased subscriptions, it will suggest that the consumers are picking up other lines in addition to the ones they have to ensure that they can actually either partake in the online virtual meetings and collaborations like what we're doing right now since the COVID-19 stay-at-home lockdown. So we have to obviously note that the industry is not just made up of the gang of four, that's the four mobile network operators, but other players in the market that have had to actually demonstrate negative numbers in the sense that during this lockdown, employees of enterprises and businesses have stayed at home naturally, so there have been no services to those enterprises. So yes, it's warranted that with increased change in consumer behavior in terms of data traffic usage, that there will be a slight uplift in those data numbers. However, they don't compensate for the losses in the voice, and they definitely don't compensate for the losses in the enterprise segment of the market, as this ecosystem is made up of much more than just the four operators that have been highlighted to have driven these numbers up.
Fantastic. So if I was to ask you if there's enough of a change or shift in consumer behavior, looking at these numbers, as you just said, you would say that we shouldn't put too much weight on that, on a shift in consumer behavior?
Yes, I mean, if you look at Reflective, in Q4, there was a decrease, so of about 0.65%. So that shows you that we're either reaching a plateau. The teledensity is slightly above 100%. Anything above 100% suggests saturation of current network coverage and usage. Concentration of services is in the three key cities, the triangle. I refer to them as Port Harcourt, Abuja, and Lagos. But we have to think about those that don't have access to any services at all. The issues around young people who can't access online education is an issue that we've got to address as a country. And we obviously need access to foreign exchange and capital to increase the networks to cover those that are unfortunately unable to get onto these platforms.
And so that's of course talking about affordability, yes? Would that carry a lot of weight as far as this picture where we're painting is concerned?
Yeah, evidence to suggest, and A4AI, that's the Alliance for Affordable Internet, part of the Web Foundation, which I'm the national coordinator for the country, already indicates that on average, we have a gigabyte of data costing 1.7% of the monthly income of an average household. But if you look at the NBS data, according to the poverty line, we have about 42% of Nigerians that are below the poverty line, which represents that they're not earning more than $2 per day. And if we're looking at a situation where we expect a gigabyte of data per month to be spent of no more than $2, for instance, or thereabouts of 2% of the average income paid, those people are not falling into that category or that threshold. So we have a long way to go. It's really skewed. The numbers really, the narratives around the numbers suggest that there are a lot of people who can afford usage of data, but they're concentrated in particular areas of the country, which represents where the penetration of broadband is, which is predominantly Lagos, which takes about 15% of that, 40% of broadband penetration per subscription, by the way, not individuals. So it shows that the actual skewing of the numbers would demonstrate that we are either plateauing out or there is something not quite right with the numbers, because if we are having 100% teledensity, then we are maxing out and saturating the market. So it's either we're having over subscriptions, and as I indicated to you, the whole ecosystem isn't seeing the uplift in revenues. There are quite a number of those that have turned in negative. So yes, it's welcome that we are showing a ramp up in a very tough economic environment and a new norm. So let's just wait and see if there's a propensity to still spend on data going forward into Q3 and Q4 this year.
Sir, thank you. That was excellent explanation. In fact, I was just giving out these numbers right as you connected with us. So let me just throw them out to you again. And I think this is, bolstering the point that you just made. So new lines, 1.46 million new lines, 190.8 million in April, 192.3 million in May. And then internet connections, the operators connected 2.4 million. We have 138.7 million in April, 141.2 million in May. So one spits out those numbers at you, and you would say what you just said now. That's concentrated in the triangle area, could be skewed, and we shouldn't celebrate those figures, this increase.
Not for now. Let's just wait and see the Q2 numbers. That would be should be favorable. But obviously, as we note, increase in subscription numbers doesn't represent that more Nigerians are coming onto the internet. It's far less than that. I think that what we need to do is to really look at the Nigerian broadband plan of 2020-2025 and see those areas that really need to be plugged to ensure that we get a definitive, unique subscriber numbers that reflects the GDP increase that we expect in the country.
Great stuff. I've only got less than 2 minutes. What are we still facing the same issues with expanding into the areas that are going to count, as you're referring to, rural areas and so on? It's almost like the financial inclusion conversation. Still same challenges, costs and connectivity and so on.
Well, the Forex is a big one. We all know that we are struggling to have access to the Forex market. There's lack of liquidity in the Forex. We know that there's pressure on the foreign reserves. Our members need access to capital to be able to expand their networks. Yeah, we're hopeful that there'll be probably new players coming into the market, as was recently publicized in the media. But the fundamentals are still there. We need to have affordable internet access, and the only way to get that is to actually create more employment, ensure that there's digital literacy. That's what the digital economy strategy document that was recently launched by the president last year speaks to. Without that, really what you will find is that people will be hopping from one operator to another to ensure that they get access to data that they need to be able to carry on their normal lives. Albeit the new norm. Just a few seconds, sir, if you will. With the projected recession for this year and the challenges we're facing, would you have to say then that it's 2021, 2022 maybe? We've run out of time. We've run out of time. We'll get you back to complete this conversation. Q3 2021. There you go, Q3 2021. Mr. Olusola Teniola, President of ATCON, Association of Telecommunications Companies of Nigeria.